Greetings and happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian, and this is the Badger Lodge, a special Thanksgiving edition of the Badger Lodge, where we will be taking your calls and giving your thoughts on whatever it is you may happen to have on your mind. Um, so I don't really have anything in terms of like something to talk about. And I know that's super lame, but this is kind of an unexpected last minute thing. So if you are around, I'll just say hello. I see some people in the chat. Night Motorcyclist, TJWK, Mr. 0303 over on Rumble, Big Lebowski, and Mike R. Hello, hello, hello. Um, Please again, feel free to call in, say hello, give thanks to whatever it is you want to be thankful for this Thanksgiving. What are you having for dinner? Do you celebrate Thanksgiving in your country? I mean, obviously, like you don't. This isn't for everyone. In fact, it's uniquely American. But yeah, go ahead and call in, say hi. It's good to hear from you guys. So there is a link in the description to get into the Honey Badger Radio call-in room on Discord, and you will run into our screener Doughboy, who has volunteered to basically like be our screener because my normal inquisitors are not around. They're probably doing Thanksgiving stuff. Yeah, then Doughboy will basically take your question, or if you don't have a question but you just want to comment or give me a take or whatever, then he will get the gist of it, put it in the questions chat, and then I will read it out and bring you in so that you can like make your case. And if you want to argue with me or whatever, that's fine too. We can talk about whatever. I am an open book, as it were. So. That was the last of my coffee. I wanted to get this over with early because it is Thanksgiving and we're going to be having leg of lamb for dinner, which should be a good time. And then I'm going to try to talk Lindsay into playing some Resident Evil with me after, if I can get her to. So yeah, we'd like, please again, feel free to call in. I see I'm using Social Stream Ninja so that I can watch all the chat, which is what's displaying on the screen right now. Very super useful tool. So if you're into streaming, but like you want to be able to pull or like take advantage of a live chat that's in Discord or on WhatsApp or Telegram or Rumble, like any place that normally wouldn't have a chat, you can use that. Social Stream Ninja is a very useful tool for that. So, all right, let me just put the Discord chat up here. I do see someone in there already, which is great. So yeah, send us a super chat too if you want. That's feedthebadger.com/just the tip, and then I will endeavor to read that out as well. So, I see that someone is already in there. And let me look at what you guys are saying. So Jay Willie's series says, why does American families who don't even get along with each other still meet up for holidays? Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't agree with members of my family, but I still get along with them. So I guess it depends. Like I don't know if I don't think Jay Willie is American, right? I think that there is a kind of like propagandistic trope that goes out to the world from the media that suggests that the holidays are always stressful and always dysfunctional and there's always fighting. And I mean, I think that there's disagreement sometimes, but honestly, I mean, I'm really far away from my family right now. I'm in Virginia, and my family is either in Boston, Puerto Rico, New York, or Chicago. So they're kind of spread out. I have some in Texas as well. And so I'm not around them a lot. But when I did live in Chicago, Thanksgiving was, whatever was going on in our personal lives, all of it was put aside and we would get together for Thanksgiving. And at the very least, it was for the kids, my nieces and nephews. they wanted to see family and eat good food. My mother was usually done with dinner by like noon, so we'd be eating it pretty early. Um, and my like the guys would watch the game because it was usually like a football game going on, and we would listen to music and we would just hang out with the kids, and everybody would get together. And so we made that effort. I know that there's a lot of political tension and division, but I think that it's a bit well, I think it's designed to separate people. I think it's designed to make us hostile towards each other, but I don't think it has to be the case, even if we disagree. Doughboy says we have someone in the chat. He doesn't have a question, but he wants to thank the team for the good they do. All right, well, I'll bring him in here. And thanks so much. Again, go to the Discord link in the description of this stream so that you can call in yourself, and Doughboy will take care of you, okay? So let me bring in this guy. Hello, and you are muted. Are you able to unmute yourself? Hello, you are muted. Let me just see. Maybe there's something I'm supposed to do here.
Am
There
I
you go.
audible?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank
I'm
you.
actually from India.
Yeah, I got that. I got the sense of that. How you doing?
I'm to plagiarize Dave Ramsey. I'm better than I deserve.
Well, so what brings you to our doorstep here at HBR?
Well, I have immense respect for Typhon Blue, Karen Strawn, and others who have been uh, actually been helpful in raising voice for the voiceless. That is the forgotten gender, and I just have love and support from this part of the world.
Yes. And are you currently in India now?
Oh yes, sir.
What time is it over there?
1:42 a.m.
Oh, it's so
It
late.
is quite late in the evening.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. First of all, thank you for the kind words. And this is I agree. I mean, it was Karen, Hannah, and Allison that made me want to do what I've been doing for the past 10 years. So I've basically like made this into a job for better or worse. Um, but let me ask you this. I know that we had an international conference on men's issues in India this year. Were you at that particular event?
Uh, it was actually hosted by one of the organizers were Mr. Anil Murthy,
Mm-hmm.
and from SIFF, you know him. He's one of the biggest head honchos from that part of the world regarding men's issues and men's rights organizations. So I know him personally, and we have actually have had quite a lot of interesting conversations over a period of time, and I really regard him as my uh, mentor in that regard, whether it is for men's MRA activism or writing petitions or regarding the legal jargon. So
Yeah.
I actually, because of some family emergency and compulsions, there was a recent death within my family, extended
Oh.
family. So I couldn't visit over there, but certainly I would be there the next year. And there are some of my friends from America who would be visiting India, if
Mm-hmm.
hopefully if it would be held in India. So I would definitely be visiting alongside my American friends.
All right. So, next year the word is the ICMI is going to be in Budapest. I don't know if you heard that. Oh, that the ICMI. There could be another conference in India, but I heard there was the next ICMI, the working I guess, model or the working plan is that it will be in Budapest.
Well, let us see what happens if it pans out to be in Budapest, as there are some people who are nudging about it. Then so be it. But we
Yeah.
would definitely give our message and love and support for all the men in Budapest via a Zoom call or something. And we would definitely, because of in the advent of technology, the entry barriers have come down. I mean,
Yes.
uh, 20 years ago, I would never have imagined that I would be talking to a gentleman who would be sitting on that side of the Atlantic, and we would be having some sort of a telephonic conversation.
Yeah. It is. It is. It is the wonder of this technology. In fact, I think that the internet has made it. Well, it's a double-edged sword because it is a tool at the end of the day. But I think that overall, it's a net good because we've been able to get this conversation going all over the world. I've spoken with people from South Korea, from Japan, India, the Middle East, and even Nordic countries like South America. So very, very fortunate. A lot of stuff going on all over, and I think it is like it's having, I think, a very big impact on not just the men's sphere, but philosophically, politically, spiritually, etc. So I think it's a net good.
In fact, I wholeheartedly agree with you 101% on that because, uh, I mean, on this very auspicious occasion, perhaps I should not say this, but uh, basically, we have become a third world country facing first world problems. That's a
Yeah,
short point.
yeah,
And the laws, the draconian laws which are introduced at behest of plagiarizing laws and influence from the West, and it keeps getting worse. The overreach of the police state into domestic affairs of people, largely men are on the receiving end of it. So I think people lack perspicacity about it,
yeah.
as how it is going to uh, become somewhat having an adversarial effect on the society by and large, and the
Hmm.
social fabric has uh, been in tatters because, as you see at India, since it is interesting you brought up the ICMI conference in India. uh, I saw that Indian laws are talking about same sex marriage. Homosexuality has been decriminalized. And one of the Chief Justices of India, who has been a Harvard University alumni from the 80s, uh, he literally is saying that there is biologically no difference between a man or a woman and things like that. So it keeps getting worse. It worsens the situation regarding the social fabric, which is already in tatters because of the corruption within the judicial system, the police structure, which almost behaves like a mafia, and the corrupt lawyers, as we all know.
Hmm.
A good lawyer knows the law, a great lawyer knows the judge, as the saying goes. Uh, we actually have become a sort of a pariahs of the entire world, and
Yeah,
the system remains intact. The system doesn't change, and I have been actually sort of, you could call me as a bachelor who has been uh, you know trying to look the other way when other people are getting thrown under the bus, people of my ilk, people of the same gender. And I thought to myself that I can't be reticent about it anymore. I need to speak up.
yeah. Yeah. So I think that it is, like I said, it's a double edged sword. But I think the truth always comes out in the end. So there will be like a struggle, and then I think that reality sets in, and it may do harm. But that's kind of like what has to happen before we get to the truth. And I think I'm overall optimistic in the long run. I'm sorry that this is like, this, for lack of a better word, commie crap is like infiltrating your institutions just like it is ours. But it's kind of like an inevitability, because I think it's a feminine instinct that has been made into a political structure, and it's run by women and the simps who support them, and that's what we're kind of up against. So how are so India is kind of like, and I'm just gonna repeat for the audience. Please call in, go to the link in the description, get into the Discord. I see someone else has jumped in there, so yeah, give us a comment. But from what I understand, men's rights in India is kind of the vanguard. Like it's very, it's doing a lot more, in that sort of space than in the United States, which is sort of just starting off in a way by comparison. You guys have like PSAs and other, kind of, let's say, activism that's going on. I think South Korea has a big men's movement that's growing as well. So how are those things going in India?
Well, as someone who belongs to the MGTOW community in general, which I am, uh, a MGTOW in India wouldn't say that I wouldn't do activism for the betterment of the society. I would, because the as we know, the word government or the nation state concept, it actually predates back for us, being a civilizational state. It actually predates for us 5,000, 10,000 years. I mean, there were kingdoms and empires, but there used to be uh, sort of a straight state type structure in which administrative things and everything, including matrimonial disputes, were handled.
Yeah.
And so we know from the history of historicism about the structure and the system, and we know that system is always biased towards women because of gynocentrism, and it is going to be so unless and until the biological imperative of the hunter gatherer phenomena uh, persists, and it is going to be till eternity. Now, however, patriarchy was there, men being in charge of everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, from that aspect, we have deviated from the actual path towards, uh, shall we say, self fulfillment. And the state, as we know from the Latin word government, it literally means control of the mind. And um, it is needless to define the tyranny of the state. And unless and until we understand that uh, the state would always pan out to be something like 1984 Animal Farm, George Orwellian dystopian reality, uh, men would be the first, led to abattoir, the slaughterhouse, but certainly entire society would follow, because
Yeah.
if there would be nobody. And for that regard, since you brought up MRAs, here in India, I have seen MGTOWs doing MRA stuff. Why? Because they want to live in a conducive atmosphere, a conducive environment where the laws wouldn't adversely affect them, even if they are living as a monk on top of a snowy mountain in the Himalayan mountain range.
Yeah.
They don't want the police or the instruments of state or a sword arm of the state to approach them adversely, and is in sort of a inquisitive fashion, question them about everything, because it would lead to thought policing, minority reports, sort of a thing that we have seen in perhaps Hollywood movies. But these days, I can't be surprised about it if it comes to reality.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I've talked about that before. Actually, at the ICMI 2019, we had a panel where we had a MGTOW, a men's rights activist, and a pickup artist or a red pill or whatever come together and like talk about like what they share in common and where their differences are at. And it landed where I thought. Like mostly, all three of those things are. There's a lot of overlap. So when people say like the manosphere or the red pill or whatever you want to call it, and that it's divided into subcategories, the truth is that anyone who is a member of any of those groups and they're honest with themselves, that they are going to be concerned with all three, but in particular men's rights or men's issues from like the legal and political perspective, because you can, like you said, you can go full MGTOW monk, live off the grid and everything, but the state is going to drag you kicking and screaming into its system. And if you're just checking out, then that just gives more legislative power to women and the simps who support them in using that against men. So I think that it has to be fought in the sort of legislative or political space, even if you want to be left alone, because the state won't leave you alone, right? And the bigger and more domineering it gets, then the more, I guess, impossible it is to avoid. So you kind of have to, like, you have to get involved in a way, because you're not immune. I don't know if that makes sense, but you know what I'm saying?
I mean, pardon me for saying so, but in this day and age, I honestly think that being MGTOW is not going to be enough
I
to be
agree.
left alone. To be left alone, the reason being, the state wouldn't leave you alone.
Mm-hmm.
The police state wouldn't leave you alone because you are the cannon fodder. You are the sperm donor of the state, the most useful machinery, which is not going to depreciate well, and you would be put out to pastures afterwards, or
Right.
to the abattoir.
Right.
So being a MGTOW, being a MGTOW myself, I believe in all the stipulations and everything, and I actually would love to see more and more people become MGTOW. But being a MGTOW means that you should support men's rights, because even MGTOW originated from MRAs. So
Yeah.
basically, that is the foundation stone of every men's
I
issues
agree. Yeah.
expertise that we become a card carrying activist for. And
Yeah.
in a way, even if people are talking about MGTOW, they are doing a work of an MRA, that at least they are trying to make people gravitate and resonate with men's issues. So it is all about self ownership, and we can coexist. It is
Yeah.
not that we just have to
No.
drive a wedge between everything. So
No, I agree 100%. In fact, it's better that we do cooperate, and I think you're right. I mean, all MGTOWs were probably in the sort of men's issues space first, but I would also add that before that, MRAs, if they were male, they were just regular blue pilled normies, which means they were traditionalists, basically. Like they were thinking, oh, I'm going to meet someone, I'm going to get married, I'm going to start a family, everything's going to be bliss or whatever. And they run into some problem. They lose access to their kids, they get falsely accused of something, whatever it is. There's a messy divorce, and then they're like, whoa, the system doesn't support me. So, it's like downstream from like the traditional marriage and family, and when those guys get boned, then they become men's rights activists and they become more aware, and then later they make a personal decision because MGTOW is a personal decision. It's not really like, a movement per se. I mean, I know they call it that, but I think it's individual men, they decide they're going to live as bachelors or whatever. So, and that's a good option. I think that men should have. That's why I don't treat them as separate animals. Because I think ultimately, like, you need to fix the one. There's no that you unless you to do something about the systemic problems. You're going to you're not going to really be able to escape it.
Sorry. Uh, Actually, let's look at the example of disintegrated erstwhile Soviet Union and what happened afterwards. It was all about the insurgency in the entire Caucasian region. I mean, I don't want to uh, digress from the topic and bring it to the fact of because it is a men's rights issue and we could learn a bit or two from that. South Korea, there was a South Korean president or prime minister, if I'm not mistaken, who ran as an anti feminist and actually been able to win the elections over there. Meaning that there was so much feminism via written, minuted public state policy within the South Korean administrative government structure that a man had to run as an anti feminist and he became so popular that he won the elections in the end. Next is Japan. With negative birth rates and everything, we know what is going on. Japan is dying, South Korea is dying. Many of the South
Well,
Asians are actually trying
birth
to
rates
settle
are
over there.
yeah, birth rates are
Yeah.
down everywhere. I mean, they're down even in the places where they're still like doing well. They're on the decline, like sub-Saharan Africa, South America. It's down everywhere, and I'm guessing
Yes,
that's why. I'm guessing it has a lot to do with this kind of anti-male misandrous sentiment.
I
But
think it
sorry,
has
go ahead.
more to do with the educate, organize, agitate structure via the psychological warfare, which actually then culminates into a written, minuted public state policy.
Yeah.
And so in Russia, when that happened, the insurgency in Chechnya and Dagestan, where all these breed of UFC fighters are actually coming up right now, Russia declared that domestic violence is
Mm-hmm.
legalized. Then what happened was women threw a hissy fit with the pussy riots and everything. People in the West don't know what it was, and had it been the West, where an Orthodox Christian church, the most ancient one, was vandalized and desecrated by these feminazis, they would have
Where
won.
was wait where did this Orthodox Church get desecrated?
Moscow?
In Moscow, yes, yeah, okay. Because I know that there was one that was bombed in Gaza,
Yes.
and I think that there was something in the Ukraine where there was a Orthodox church that was shut down because the Ukraine government wanted their own state
That is
religion.
a recent
But
one.
the Yeah, that's recent. Yeah, yeah,
I'm talking about 2007, 16 years ago
yeah.
when
Okay,
Vladimir Putin handled it like a
yeah,
boss.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, I don't want to get into the details of as there might be many callers who wanted to call in,
Yeah, we
but
should we should move
without,
on because I do have somebody waiting. But go ahead.
yeah. So, in that, domestic violence was legalized. So, women threw a hissy fit saying that my husband is a wife beater. They declared that anybody who becomes a terrorist from Dagestan and Chechnya, their entire family would be executed as well,
Yeah,
especially their parents, because it is a parent's responsibility. It is the role of a mother and father who would be accountable for their son or girl getting radicalized online and then becoming a suicide bomber or so on and so forth.
yeah,
So they told them, get back with your ex-husband. So then women tried to escape accountability as usual. They said, well, my husband has actually remarried after our mutual separation or whatever. So they said, well, get back and become his mistress or his second wife. I don't care. You just have to provide the accountability and bestow it upon the father, and then we would be able to grab him by the collar if his son becomes radicalized online and he picks up a Kalashnikov rifle against the Russian state or the provincial government over there. The second thing what they did was they established a fathers commission because they have seen Marxism Leninism for almost 100 years. By then they established a fathers commission which would be able to mitigate the parental isolation and child visitations and so on and so forth, and it's a constitutional body. I actually watched a documentary over it before it was taken down in the advent of the Russia Ukraine fiasco happening,
Yeah.
and that is the gist of it. So we need a men's commission, we need a national organization for men, just like there is a national organization for women, and need to have all these we need to have all these conversations. One ICMI, I think there should be n number of ICMIs all across the world.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, we're hoping that other people will start them, and we can certainly facilitate, like help out. I think that would be really really great. But look, I really gotta move on to the next caller. I think this was great, but it went a little long. So do you have any final words before I send you off back to the screening room?
Sure, sir. Dear men, I know you have not thanked yourself enough on this auspicious occasion of Thanksgiving or on any other given day, be it of 19th of November on International Men's Day. I would like to say this: Happy belated International Men's Day, and your contribution can't be summed up within a single day. The entire history of historicism stands tall only on your shoulders. Thank you.
All right, very well said. Thank you, sir. This is Great Love Immortal Venerable. So that's your name on the Discord. But thank you so much. I'm gonna move you back into the screen room, and yeah, we're gonna take the next call. So all right, now I got the next caller is Disorder Drew. They want to know why people in America meet with family members they don't get along with. So I'm gonna bring him in here. And by the way, I see a couple people in there. Remember, call in by going to the link in the description to get into the Discord. I see that No Name Require 123 has a lot to say in the chat. So if you want to come in here and tell me how nobody's calling for communism, even though I've literally spoken to communists about it, feel free. So I'm gonna bring Disorder Drew in here right now. All right, welcome to the call. You are muted. I don't know why, but you have to unmute yourself, I think. So go into the little gear and unmute, because I don't have the power to unmute. Are you? And if you needed to type something, type in the questions chat, because I don't see the the other chats. So, or maybe if you don't have access, you can type in the general. Come on, Drew. Let me see if I can. Let me see. I will try to. Oh yeah, you're unmuted now. Hello? Hello? Is it using the right mic? Oh no, what's going on? Why is this? Hey, Defiant Smash. Okay, I'm gonna move you back into the screen room and then bring you back in. Make sure that you're working. Try to talk to Doughboy. Make sure that your things are set up. I'm gonna put you back in the screening room, okay? Sometimes I have to do that. I don't know why. Men largely want to be left alone, and women won't stop giving the government power. Yes, that's right. Because women generally they look for state-oriented solutions if they don't have like some other access, like a husband or father, parents, whatever it is, family members. So if they don't have those things, then they go to the state because they see it as an authority, that's going to make it right. So, all right, I'm going to try and bring Disorder Drew back in. Try again. See, he is still muted. I don't get it. See something here. Oh, what? You're unmuted now. Can you hear me? Hello? Are you using the correct microphone? Is there an issue? Hello? All right. There seems to be an issue. I don't think it's me. I'm gonna mute him and unmute him. How about that? Hold on a second. Okay, that probably didn't do anything. But he is unmuted in here. So you keep fidgeting with it. I'm going to respond to some comments in the chat. So Mr. 0303 says, I'm here to have an argument. Well, there you go. You're gonna get one. And I'm thankful for HBR. I'm gonna give props to the folks over on Rumble before anywhere else. Oh, I heard something. Hello? Hello? Nope. Okay. Also, again, feel free to send a super chow. I don't have any super chows yet. That's feedthebadger.com/just the tip. Drew is still, I think, trying to figure something out. What is that? What is that sound coming from? All right. Let me do it this way. I'm gonna move you into the screening room, and then I'm gonna go in the screening room with you, and I'm gonna ask that Doughboy not say anything. Okay? So I'm gonna move myself. Okay, in the screening room. Okay, I can. Disorder Drew, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly. It's just that whenever I go to the show channel, it says I need to push to speak, and then when weird. I try to go push to talk, it doesn't work anymore. It's basically like I don't know what to push, and whenever I push control, then nothing happen.
Okay, maybe there's some setting that needs to be changed in the in here. That's okay. So I'm just gonna ask Doughboy to mute while we talk in here. And we'll just go with that. So make it simple. Okay. So you were asking why people in America meet with family members they don't get along with.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I don't know if I did sort of talk a little bit about it in the beginning, but I think that most of the time people do get along with their family members and they do do the Thanksgiving thing, but I think that there is like this story or this narrative that we get that like this is always a contentious time of year. But I don't think it's true. I mean, it does happen, like especially if you have like a family and your kids go to college and they come home for Thanksgiving and they got all this like progressive crap in their head and they want to fight with their parents. But I don't think it's like in my family, even though I don't agree with my mother on things, I usually just go and do the Thanksgiving thing. I don't worry about where we disagree. I worry more about like where the fact that she's my mother or my brothers or my father or whatever, and we just kind of like go with that. I don't know if that's a stupid way to put it, but that's what I think.
No, that kind of makes sense because like if you go to other countries I've lived in, right, there is no. Like I get that the normal American family don't fight or have a contentious. I don't think that's the case at all. I just think that's a very rare thing. But even though it's a rare thing, it does not seem to be a universal thing. It seems to be a very American phenomenon, if that makes sense. Even though it's a rare phenomenon, but it's not like. But in other countries, it's kind of non-existent almost, right?
So like you're saying like what do you mean non-existent? Like families fighting is non-existent?
No, but when people specifically have family meetings used to challenge their families on beliefs that they just got like 5 months ago, that seems a bit that's a very foreign concept to me. So I kind of like wonder why would anybody want to do that?
Yeah, well that's what I'm saying. Like I think that like okay, so where you live, are you in touch with your family? Do you like, are you on good terms with your parents and stuff?
Oh yeah, I live with my parents actually. I actually
Oh,
moved back to
okay. Yeah, so when okay, so you're not in America, right?
no.
I think you're. I try to remember because I know you've called in many times, but where you are, you don't have a Thanksgiving per se, but you do have holidays and holidays you spend
Yeah.
with family, and generally there are no issues, right? Do you see like extended family, like uncles, aunts, cousins, things like that?
I do see the my sister and her husband and kids, and I also see my uncle and my cousins.
Okay,
Um, that like, well, and of course his wife. Like that are basically the, and also on occasion I see like other cousins and their kids, but rarely, and also other aunts. But like
yeah,
these are the there are two other families in my extended family that we see on like a semi-regular basis, like every month or so, a little bit more, a little bit less, give or take.
yeah,
And either if we don't know we agree, we would usually not talk about certain things. And even when I talk to my sister, even though we don't agree on everything, we agree on some things. So we can, and therefore, and we usually talk sometimes, not rarely, not usually, but sometimes we talk about certain things we feel. And sometimes I think he's completely wrong, but sometimes he's basically right, very
sure,
right. Um, and it works. But when it comes to that, I usually like to do it like, but then I used to talk to her like in private, not like with other people, right? And when it
right.
comes to my cousins and my uncle, we usually agree on almost everything, or everything that's important, right? So, then we basically like can you talk about what we believe a lot. Many people will think many things that other people will find controversial, stuff like that. So that works. So I don't really. That's the reason why it's very strange to me when people basically like do with this guy. Basically, want to even post on social media about trying to egg on the family that you haven't seen in a while. Like that's the reason you see them. You see them just to piss them off, which is like why.
I don't. Yeah, I don't think that's. I think that's really uncommon. Otherwise,
Oh,
it,
I think that too, right? But it's
yeah, yeah,
still
yeah,
why
yeah,
would
yeah. But it is no, I understand what you're saying. It's kind of rhetorical. Like like I said, I generally don't try to red pill my family members, for example, on men's issues. Like if they ask me what I do, I tell them and I don't delve into it. I just say, this is what I do and this is what I talk about on my show. And generally, people in my family are supportive because it's me. And they're like, well, I may not understand everything that's going on or whatever, but I know you and you are family, so I will just support that. And I don't, I think that there is like what this guy is doing, I think he is obviously virtue signaling. I don't think he's going to wear that sweater to his parents' house. I don't think he's actually going to go through with it. But he wants the internet to see that what he believes, right? So it's kind of empty. Like I don't think he's going to go to his parents' house. And if he does, he's probably not going to wear this sweater, or he is, but he's not going to really confront his family. But he might then go later on and tweet out that he did get into a fight with them, and like his, like, I don't know, little brother like spoke up and the whole room clapped or whatever. But a lot of times it's all very empty nonsense. And I shared this image just because I thought it was funny and a little bit pathetic, but not because I really thought that this is a common problem. I think that it's not, and I think in general too, when it is, it's usually like the girls that do that, because they go to college, they get these ideas in their head, they take them home, they see their family members or their parents, their dads especially, as the enemy, and they go after them. But I don't think it's common. I think that in most cases, people. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, you finish sentence, then I reply.
No, I think in most cases people are amicable. Is all. Like I think that in most, and even like I was saying before, there's a lot that my mother, for example, my mother hates Trump, hates him, okay, with a burning passion. So I can't talk about my political beliefs around her at all, and I don't bother to, because I know it's that she won't listen. I did in the beginning, like early on, like before the election in 2016. And I was like, well, here are some, here's the case for voting for Trump. And she just was like, oh, you got to get educated, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, forget it. I'm not gonna fight with you about it. I'm just gonna drop it. But I don't have a problem with my mother. I understand why she feels that way. I understand, and this could be with anything. Like I have been generally sympathetic to feminists and male feminists, especially if I think that they have been propagandized to and severely brainwashed to believing in this stuff. And sometimes I get heated because of the kinds of lies that people spread, but most of the time I'm just mad at having been lied to myself. Like that's the thing that makes me the angriest, and I think that's probably true for you guys too. Like, does the thing that really make you mad the fact that you believed all this shit at one point and then you realize that you've been lied to? Because I think that's what's happened with a lot of people, especially younger people that are operating in that sort of environment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like to me, I came out with a very really weird perspective because I was lied to, but basically I was always told to be critical about stuff. And whenever people told to me the stuff that that this is the right thing because you need to make sure that nobody's being discriminated or being let down, then what I'm thinking is that well, you need to look at every issue for all the people, right? You can't discriminate. You need to look at everybody, right? So if someone said, well, woman faces these problems, like, okay, that makes sense, yeah, because you should care about other people. And when you talk about stuff like race and stuff like that, this is the things that these people, minorities face. I'm like, okay, that makes sense too. And I'm basically like, okay, now, and then I was like to bring up to the things everybody face, because you wanted to go to every group of people and go and see what's going on there, right? And then when people basically were hypocritical and then said, no, this group of people, they don't have real issues, then I was like, what? Right?
Yeah.
But fortunately, this is actually really weird. Teachers in my school, not all of them, but some actually were very sympathetic to the points I brought up and thanked me for bringing that up. So it was like a very mixed bag, right? For me personally, right? And the same thing for home, right? Because I do actually agree with my mother on most things. And on men's issues, I can actually talk about that to all my families, like my sister too, and my father, like everybody, right? But I know I can't get through them to everything. Can't make them to agree on everything. So I can make me and my mother actually got around to agreeing with me on Trump, because the only reason she didn't like him was because because of the thing is that, you can get to do everything. You can grab them by the pussy. She didn't like it, right?
Yeah,
but then when I explained to her that he said that there's a certain type of woman, and if you have money, they let you do everything, and she was like, but that's correct though.
Yes.
Then she was like, I don't have a problem with Trump anymore, because she didn't have the context before. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, I'm glad that your mother is open to that new information, but that'll never happen in my house. But it's okay. Like I said, it's okay. I have to just let people be, and hopefully they figure it out on their own at some point. That's kind of like my approach. I mean, because I have friends too that we end up getting into debates and stuff, and I realize that sometimes people just want to believe what they believe, and you just have to let them. But as long as we can stay friends or family and it's not disruptive, then it's okay. And that's kind of what I think for me it boils down to. But I think in most cases, even if we don't agree, we can certainly, we still love each other, if that makes sense. No,
that does make sense.
Yeah.
Because I do have a very perfect example of when you can get through your family or when you don't. Like, I can get through to my mother about all the men's issues, and she agreed with me on all those things. But for some reason, she really wants to keep the feminist label, and I know I probably won't make her change her mind on that. So there's no point in even trying, because it's not that important. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that if I, this is probably, this is like the third Thanksgiving that I did not spend with my family because I've been living here in Virginia. But when I did, I would see everyone in the area, all the local aunts, uncles, and cousins, and nieces and nephews. And I think that if I was there now, I think there might be like one or two people, of like my nieces or nephews that might be, more woke than they were because they've been going to college. That's what I would expect. But if they're as rational as I knew them from before, then if it has to become a discussion, then I'd be willing to have it. But I generally am not gonna be confrontational in that context because we're here for family. That's what I think that family is very important, and that's Thanksgiving, Christmas. That's what those days are all about, really. So.
Yeah, like to me, I'm actually unusually good at persuading people that I'm correct. I've noticed that.
Yeah.
It's actually quite crazy, but that's because I'm never confrontational. I'm always basically like very optimistic and very positive, and acknowledging the other person and saying that I can see where you're coming from, and I do agree on a lot of things. But here's where I think about this and that, and that would just make obvious. And then I used to make it so that they kind of agree with me on the end. Like I used very good at that for some reason. I don't know why, but that's just how I do it. Right?
So then maybe are you a salesman? Maybe you should be. You're not.
No. But I did. No, I probably should be, but I have a lot of empathy. I don't know if I could.
So you're kind of Spurg.
Yeah, I'm definitely that. Absolutely, right.
Okay.
I even got a diagnosis, but when I did that, I also saw that I had an unusually high IQ, which is probably the reason why I can convince people very much. I'm just guessing.
Right.
I think that's probably why. But my experience that you asked earlier, you've been lied to, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's actually kind of weird because, like, the reason why I was mostly concerned about men's issues was because a teacher that I went to school with, who actually even identified herself as a feminist, she actually said that she thought that boys have a harder time generally than girls. And then my other teacher, she basically also told me that, was not a feminist at all. He was the main catalyst to explain to me that she actually thinks it's way worse for men in society than women when it comes to discrimination, after I suggested that the opposite was true. But that wasn't high school. Like, it's just kind of crazy that I actually got that lucky, Like,
yeah,
that's insane if I think about it. If I think back at it, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But if I were to go back to like the image that you posted before, is that if that guy you want to be claim that you want to be confrontational, right? Why would you want to be confrontational with your family members? Don't you like your family members? Like, don't you want to bring them over?
Yeah, that's why I think. I mean, I wouldn't go so far as to say that he wouldn't do this, but I think that this is I think that how do I put this? I think that people are being encouraged to confront their families about these kinds of topics, not because they actually believe that this is a conversation worth having, but because they want to essentially virtue signal to their internet friends and their sort of like bubbles, their safe spaces, whatever you want to call it. So they want to say, look, people in this, at my college or on this Reddit or whatever, I am a good person because I did this thing, and that's it. Like, it's got nothing to do with anything of substance, really. I mean, it's just about empty virtue signaling. And it's a shame because I think it's simping. I mean, that's what I think. Yeah.
And I think it's to me, because if I look at the countries I've lived in several countries, including those countries that are in Sweden and South Africa, right? And if the idea of confronting your family is considered to be a negative thing in those countries, if you do that, that usually means that you're like for better or for that you mean you're a troublemaker, and you shouldn't do that. That's considered to be uncool, and that's in these countries doing that is considered to be a bad thing, right? So generally speaking, I'm not talking for everybody, but that's my experience. That if you do that, why would you do that? that makes you bad. Like that's considered to be a bad thing. So that's why it's so alien to see people posting like that about in America. I'm like, have you no respect?
Yeah.
And that's why I'm thinking is that when it comes to the only reason why you will meet up with family members you don't even get along with is because of some stupid idea of respect.
Yeah.
But
you're holding on to something, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's about intentionally disrespecting your family members, saying, "Oh, I'm going to confront my bigoted parents over this thing." I mean, why would you assume that about your parents? You know what I'm saying?
That usually means the parents probably didn't do that good of a parenting in some way, because
yes.
Yeah, exactly, because like if the education system can turn you against your parents, what the fuck did your parent do wrong?
Exactly.
To me, I always wanted to distance myself from my parents and go out of my parents and be with my friends and not my parents because parents are boring. But when I went to school, I always trusted my parents above the fucking school. Like that the teachers could somehow win me over if they disagree with my parents. That would be so fucking outlandish. Like that would never happen to me when I was a kid. And then when people say, but kids want to distance themselves, yeah, but they have a fucking foundation about where they were raised.
Yeah.
Like the parents must have done something wrong if the kids don't have that.
No, I agree. Yeah. I mean, yes, I think parenting is a lost skill for some reason. And I think it was before my generation. I think it's old. It goes back to probably the boomers. I mean, I hate blaming the boomers for everything because it's very popular, but
I love
I know. It's either that or the silent generation, which is the generation before that did a poor job, which I guess you could make that case. But I should wrap up the show because I'm only going for an hour and it's time for me to have my Thanksgiving dinner. Yeah. So I am gonna do that. Do you have any final thoughts before I head back into the show channel?
Yeah, like I will basically say that the example you gave is someone believe that their parents that have cared for them and spoiled them their whole life are now their enemies, and they're so bigoted. Like especially the dad, especially the girls thinking that. Like it's very weird. It's a very weird thing because parents, because kids are not all, but most children are usually less confrontational towards their opposite sex parents in general than their same sex parent, right? So that anybody would do that basically just by going to college is a little bit. It seems like the parents like must have sucked balls for something. They seem terrible parents.
Yeah.
Like what the fuck? And also like why would you think that of your parents if you didn't think that for the first fucking 20 years of your life? And now all of a sudden, boom, your parents are terrible? What?
Yeah, I know. Well, you know, I don't know. There's a lot of problems in this world, but I am grateful for this audience, Lindsay, Jojo, my family. So I'm gonna, make the most of that. But thank you, Drew, for coming on the show. I'm gonna head back into the show channel and wrap it up. And have a good Thanksgiving. I know you don't celebrate it over there, but anyway, have a good one regardless.
Thank you. You too.
All right. So we are closing it out. Thanks guys. I don't have any more. Let me just make sure there's no super chats or anything. I don't think there is. Yeah, we're gonna wrap up the show there. Are you guys doing anything for Thanksgiving? Let me know in the comments. And if if it's not Thanksgiving where you are, just, what are you up to anyway in general? So, but we got something going on. Today's Thursday. So tomorrow, I think Allison and Karen and I are doing something, but I don't know yet. So be on the lookout for that. This is just, brief content for today's show because Hannah is not available because Thanksgiving. So I am kind of filling in. And I don't know for sure, but Lindsay and I, my wife and I might be doing something later. I'll see if I can talk her into it, but but maybe not. So just be on the lookout on the gaming channel at Honey Badger Arcade. Okay. All right. All right. So let's wrap it up there. If you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we talked about on the call-in show. And thank you so much to Doughboy for filling in. Thanks so much for coming on today's show, and we'll talk to you all in the next one. Bye, everybody.
Is there anything in this world that would want to make me give away what I'm doing now? Yes, there is. When my children can take the football that I call wildlife conservation and run it up. When they're ready to run up our mission, I will gladly step aside. And I guarantee you it'll be the proudest moment of my life. And my job will be done. Then and only then will I know that I have achieved my ultimate goal. To be able to stand aside and let them run up my mission.
It's an absolute honour to be a part of it, and I'll tell you what, we love our crocodiles so much. It's all to make sure we can better protect them. Alright, sweetheart, you ready to go? Okay, here we go. You ready? Ready. Go.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.